master went into the garden to listen to his father's words as olive branches rustled in the breeze. He looked around to find some comfort from those who followed faithfully, but found them all asleep beneath the trees. Can you not watch for just 1 hour, my company to keep? My spirit is consumed by sorrow deep. Pray with me, and I will pray with you. And we will keep the watch by night until the dawning of the light. Stay with me, and we can make it through all the sorrow and the pain, till the sun will rise again. Stay and pray with me, and I will pray with you. Everybody has a garden and a burden we must share. Come apart with me a while and say a prayer. Pray with me, and I will pray with you. And we will keep the watch by night until the dawning of the light. Stay with me, and we can make it through all the sorrow and the pain, till the sun will rise again. Stay and pray with me, and I will pray with you. Stay and pray with me, and I will pray with you.
So when you hear yourself saying, I'll be glad when, ... Stop it. Don't delay gladness. Be glad now. So my heart's desire for today's message is to support you in being glad now and not delaying gladness. And the human condition that this is addressing is the fact that we often postpone gladness. We say, I'll be glad when. And the spiritual solution is being glad right now, not putting it off another moment. So what's in it for you? Let's hear from some of you. What's in it for you to be glad now instead of delaying being glad? I'm happy now. Gratitude. There may not be a later. There may not be a later. Yeah. Well, let me give you some data. There's a large body of research that shows that people who engage in the regular exercise of gratitude, which being glad is all about, experience a multitude of benefits, including improved sleep, greater happiness, less depression, better social relationships, and greater overall life satisfaction. One study showed that the effect of gratitude was above and beyond what psychotherapy alone accomplished, and that those who received psychotherapy and engaged in daily gratitude writing, they did them both, reported better mental health 12 weeks after the intervention than those who engaged in psychotherapy alone. Gratitude may also be beneficial to people with medical conditions. One study found that cardiac patients who practiced being grateful reported better sleep, less fatigue, lower levels of cellular inflammation. And another study found that heart failure patients who kept a gratitude journal for 8 weeks had less inflammation afterwards. I don't know if you know about inflammation, but it is the absolute beginning of every disease on the planet. Inflammation. Scientists who have looked at the neural correlates of gratitude in the brain have shown that the practice of gratitude appears to activate brain regions often associated with areas that generate a feeling of reward. Very importantly, that response can be strengthened by engaging in activities such as gratitude journaling, which basically means practicing gratitude can change your brain and allow you to experience the world in a more rewarding way. So I don't know about you, but that all sounds like good enough reasons for me to be glad now. And anytime I think of the spiritual principle of gratitude, I think of Catherine. You know, for those of you who may not know, Catherine, I guess your primary practice is gratitude, yes. And for what she's been through the past year, she has modeled being glad now, regardless of not being able to walk on her legs since what, October? September? Yes. And you're just a model. So thank you for continuing to model the power of gratitude and the principle of gratitude. So I want you to imagine it's really early in the morning, about 6 o'clock, June 26th, just a few weeks ago, 2021. I'm on my cushion writing my morning pages, and I see the words I am writing. Real estate deals close June 30th, and I can begin moving and settling into the second condo. I will be so glad when I pause and I write, why delay gladness? Great message idea. You know, ministers are always looking for great message ideas. And I continue writing. Why delay gladness is about diving into the now, mindfully. I am glad that I'm getting done everything that needs to be done when it needs to be done. I am glad now. I am being more mindful throughout the day thanks to my every 15-minute reminder timer. If you see me looking down at my watch, it's because every 15 minutes I have a timer reminding me to be mindful. There it goes. Repeat. Okay. Boy, I couldn't have timed that right. I mean, you know, when you're mindful, things are in the flow. What can I say? And so it reminds me, you know, when I say I am glad now, it's really another way of saying I'm grateful. And I think it's a nice reframe to I'll be glad when. So I continue writing things in my morning pages, and I'm glad now, with my last sentence being, thank you, God of my being, that I am glad now and can choose to be glad throughout the day, no matter what. So I am glad now, as I just said, is another way of expressing gratitude, of saying I am grateful. I am glad right now. And gratitude is a feeling. You know, appreciation is sort of our thoughts. We appreciate things that happen. But gratitude is the feeling that we have when we appreciate something and when we're grateful. And so gratitude accompanies appreciation, feelings of gratitude. And the thing about feelings is, feelings can only be experienced in the moment. You can't experience a feeling yesterday. You can't experience a feeling tomorrow. You can only experience feelings in the body. And the body, unlike the mind, is right here, right now, every now moment. And I've known this for years. I remember learning it from Russ Hudson of Enneagram fame. And we were going out to lunch in California with Marge Britt one day. And he was saying that, you know, the only time you can be in the now moment is when you're in the body. And I'd never thought about that before. So when we experience something with any of our five senses, if I'm seeing something, hearing something, feeling something, smelling something, tasting something, I am in the now moment. So if you ever want to be mindful and you want to know what mindfulness is all about, go to one of your five senses and it will bring you to the now moment. And this understanding became deeper than ever about a year ago, last summer, when I began learning how to meditate, not only on the cushion, but off the cushion. Not only by sitting still, but by to meditate in action, to meditate when I'm exercising, to meditate when I'm washing dishes, when I'm walking, even when I'm driving, you know? I'm so grateful for this practice that has changed my life. And the core foundational technique of unified mindfulness is see, hear, feel. And feel includes taste and smell. Don't ask me why, but Shinzen wanted to keep it to 3. He likes to keep things simple. So at any given moment, if you are in line somewhere, if you're driving, no matter what you're doing, if you will bring to mindful awareness what you are seeing, hearing, or feeling, it will bring you to this moment. And you will be practicing mindfulness. So you don't have to be in a deep state of sitting on the cushion, gazing at your navel. That would be C, by the way, if you were gazing at your navel. Okay, never mind. Okay, so after I finished my morning pages, I wrote in the margin, Pollyanna and the Glad Game. How many of you heard of Pollyanna and the Glad Game, right? So I always thought of Pollyanna as sort of akin to someone who was in La La Land, in a psychological denial about the realities of the relative world. But as I learned more about Pollyanna, I realized that while she positively reframed negative conditions, she also acknowledged those conditions. She didn't take a spiritual bypass and go straight. At least my version of Pollyanna did not do this. And she felt the feelings. In fact, I think that probably feeling the feelings, that's part of feel, by the way, see, hear, feel, that maybe those feelings, those negative feelings, actually became the catalyst for her to be mindful that she could be thinking something more positive. She didn't have to stay in the negative condition. And she learned something called the Glad Game from her father, who was a missionary. And he created the game when Pollyanna, who had been hoping to receive a doll for Christmas in the missionary barrel, was disappointed because the only thing in the missionary barrel for her was a pair of crutches. And so to help Pollyanna feel better, her father made up the Glad Game. And she was able to be glad now that she didn't need the crutches. Okay? And so sadly, she was orphaned by her missionary parents at a young age. And although she went to live with her wealthy, stern, and unmarried aunt in a disgruntled community, she wound up winning the hearts of everyone with her relentless optimism as she taught them to play the Glad Game. And this was a game in which she bravely sought to find something about everything to be glad about, no matter how disappointed, sad, or lonely she felt. And in the words of Pollyanna, quote, "When you're hunting for the glad things, you sort of forget the other kind." So to me, this isn't about ignoring disappointment, sadness, or loneliness. It means not setting up camp in them, not building a condo in these feelings. But certainly in Unity we teach we have to acknowledge whatever condition exists. We call that in the relative world. We acknowledge the condition. We deny it the power to make us miserable or to make our life unmanageable, as we say in the 12-step rooms. And then we affirm the truth. We get to this so that we can feel glad now. So that although I broke my kneecap and I'm unable to drive and I walk weird, the point of it is that right now, the very life God is healing me. The life God is moving in, through, and as every cell and atom of my body, my heart, my soul, my mind, doing its mighty healing work. And I am glad, because the next step, after we acknowledge, we deny, we affirm the truth, we give thanks. We are grateful. We feel glad now. And then what do? We put it on the altar. We turn it over. We let go and let God, in me, through me, as me, do its mighty work. So in a September 26, 2016 Lakewood blog, that's from a Baptist church, we don't limit ourselves here at Unity, a woman named Elizabeth Ornsby wrote, she wrote a blog reflecting on the story of Pollyanna and the Pollyanna principle. The psychological risk, this is the actual Pollyanna principle, the psychological risk of the tendency to relive pleasant experiences more accurately than unpleasant ones. And she writes, "To those who think of my literary friend in this context only, I suggest they have missed the point and may have likely not read the book. Pollyanna eventually found herself in a dark place where her mental and emotional state threatened her ability to overcome a tragic accident. She needed the help of those who loved her to find something to be glad about. Sometimes it takes more effort, but what we choose to think and we do can positively affect the way we feel." And of course, that's why Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. We believe in the power of positivity. And she concludes, Pollyanna's missionary father called it the glad game. I think Paul called it giving thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. That's from 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 18. Then I ran across an article in Psychology Today, another blog, and Janine Vilhauer, PhD, makes three key points. She says, despite popular belief, the character of Pollyanna was not overly optimistic. She was simply taught to see the silver lining in any situation. Pollyanna's glad game mirrors a gratitude practice, now taught in positive psychology and forever taught in Unity and other New Thought ministries. Scientists have found that the practice of gratitude appears to activate brain function. So, she says that Pollyanna is probably the most misunderstood fictional character of the 20th century American literature. She says, when people think of Pollyanna, just as I mentioned the way I thought of Pollyanna, they think of this overly optimistic goody-goody who doesn't see the harsh reality of the world. The term Pollyanna has taken on quite a negative connotation, And you frequently hear people using the term apologetically. I hate to be a Pollyanna, but, or critically, stop being such a Pollyanna. She says, in fact, Pollyanna was not realistic or overly optimistic about anything. She was a little girl with a very poor but wise father who recognized the duality in life and taught her to play a game based on this idea. Pollyanna's name was known, or her game was known as the Glad Game. And one day, when she was hoping for a doll, she got the crutches instead. And when she started to cry, her father promised her that if she stopped crying, he would teach her to play a game that would bring her more happiness than any doll ever could. And he taught her that in every situation, no matter how bad it might seem, you could always find something to be glad about if you looked hard enough. So Pollyanna and her father played that game every day, looking as hard as they could for the thing that they could be glad about in every situation. And the more difficult the situation, the more fun and challenging it was for them. And after a while, the game became automatic to Pollyanna. She often didn't even realize she was playing it. She just trained herself to see the silver lining or what she could be grateful for in every situation. And she began to teach the game. She paid it forward, if you will, to everyone she met. And life-altering transformations started to occur to all who played the game. Now, there's something you have to watch out for as you're practicing the Glad Game. And that is something called spiritual bypassing. How many of you have heard of spiritual bypassing? All right. So, on July 12th last year, I gave a message called Exiting the Spiritual Bypass. And basically it was about embracing challenges with spiritual and principles instead of using spiritual ideas and practices to sidestep or avoid them. So in his classic book, Toward a Psychology of Awakening, John Wellwood defines spiritual bypassing as using spiritual ideas and practices to sidestep personal, emotional, unfinished business. You know, that stuff we don't want to look at because we don't want to do shadow work, right? You know, I've dealt with that stuff. I don't need to look at it anymore. Well, you may not, but it's going to come up. So we have this emotional, unfinished business, and instead of dealing with it, we go straight to spiritual bypass. My leg, I deny that my leg's broken. I deny anything. I just stay in that denial state rather than go to acknowledging, denying, and affirming, and then feeling glad. So in order to exit the spiritual bypass, we have to acknowledge the condition and our feelings concerning the condition. We have to deny it power over our lives. We have to affirm the truth and be glad now. So this past year has been quite a different year for all of us with the pandemic. And yet, in unexpected ways, even in the midst of the pandemic, there have been things to be glad about. And so I want to invite you to share. How were you able to be glad in the midst of the pandemic and social distancing and other challenges, and yet at the same time not take a spiritual bypass? So if you're here in the sanctuary and would like to share, I'll call on whoever's hand I see first. Now, don't everybody stand up at once. Yes, Adele.
I am still glad for Zoom.
I am so glad for Zoom, Adele says.
Still glad.
And still glad for Zoom. Yeah, I think that's something to be glad for now. And those of you that are on Zoom with us right now, I'm sure you're feeling that glad So thanks, Adele, for reminding us of something so simple that we could be glad for now. Yes, Kathy.
Even though I got tired of staying home all the time, I felt really happy that I got to spend extra time with my husband and our 2 dogs, one of whom we don't have anymore.
So Kathy's sharing that even though she got tired of staying home, she really was glad that she got to spend extra quality time with Gilbert and with their 2 dogs, one of whom is no longer on the planet with us. And so, yeah, it's time you wouldn't have otherwise spent. Thanks. Yes, Jerry.
Today, I am so glad, so with gratitude to be here amongst people that I haven't seen or touched, and I love you all, and thank you.
Yeah, and so Jerry's saying she is so glad right now to be here, to be back in the sanctuary, to be around people, and how much she loves everybody. Yeah. Leah.
I am my own.
That's great. So Leah's saying that she's so glad that she had time to learn and spend time. You developed a relationship with yourself, is what I'm hearing. So she learned to love herself more, and to be more present and rely on her spiritual practices, and that gave that opportunity. Peg.
I'm really glad at what people having to stay home did for the earth.
Yes.
There was less population, in Venice the water turned clear, so it had such a positive effect. It gave the earth a rest.
Yes, so Peg is saying that it gave the earth a rest by all of us staying home. So the pollution decreased. People could see stars they had never been able to see before, and the canals in Venice cleared up, and we really did give Mother Nature a break. Yeah. And Hannah.
I am glad that I have the opportunity to continue my education. Even though it is far from family, it's helping me grow and develop independently.
Yeah, so Hannah's saying that she's glad right now that she's been able to continue her education. She's working on her master's degree in counseling, and even though she's separated from her family, it's really, helping her grow and to learn more and be more in the world. Yeah, great. Okay, Janine.
Well, I am glad that I finally,
Can you take off your mask?
I am glad that I chipped away at my endless to-do list.
Oh, yes.
And I did it not because, I got to get this done, I did it with a different attitude.
Yeah. So Janine's saying she's glad she chipped away at her to-do list. And boy, a lot of people did. Well, you still got a lot to do, yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to admit that although I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, and 7s are normally extroverts, I am an introvert that knows how to act like an extrovert, and I loved being alone. I really did. I had a little bit of a hard time getting here this morning, but now that I'm here, I remember why it's so wonderful to be in person. But I had to kind of remember, what's it going to be like being around all those people? Because I've been, I enjoy being alone, and I enjoy being with people. And so that's why you see me, and I'm very happy right after the service, and we have all this interaction, and and then I go home and pass out because I'm exhausted, But I love all of you, and it's so wonderful to have you here, and I'm grateful that I had that time to myself as well, and for the technology of Zoom that kept us going. All right, so. Yeah, I think a lot of people have said they're glad that they were able to slow down and that they had fewer demands to be somewhere. And when this person said that to me, I said, well, obviously you weren't attending meetings on Zoom because I've never been on the computer so much in my life. So how do we practice this? How do we put feet on this message? And of course, prayer and meditation, on and off the cushion. I really encourage you, this is the last chance to take this course that has been life-changing for me, and almost everyone who's taken it has said it's life-changing. Some of you are shaking your heads. And I think I have one slot for Zoom on Sunday evenings starting tonight, and I have about 8 slots for the in-person, and we'll be doing that here in the sanctuary. So I really would like to see some more people in person if you want to come on Wednesday at 6:30. And if you do, I need to know today so that I can send you out an email with the handout for the first class. So your call to action today is to not delay gladness, to be glad now, not when. And let's experience this right now in a sacred time of shared prayer. And I'm just going to stand here and do the meditation today. And I invite you to just stretch up and settle in, relaxing the body, clearing the mind, opening the heart. As I guide you in the Unified Mindfulness Feel Good practice as a way to experience feeling glad now. So feel good is like ringing a bell. You'll note a positive emotion just by saying, feel good. And you'll stay with it for a few moments until it fades, and then, like ringing a bell, you repeat the process. And there's several ways to do this. One way is that some people can spontaneously feel good just by wanting to feel good. It's like flipping a switch. And so if you can do that, just turn on positive emotion and feel good. And if you can't switch it on that easily, just be equanimous with the fact that you can't. Be neutral. Be okay with it. It's just not your way of doing it. And so you activate feeling good, and as it fades, you reactivate it, like ringing a bell. And another option you can use to create positive emotion is putting a gentle smile on your face, and everyone can do that. Just put a gentle smile on your face right now. And as you smile, you may notice that it radiates beyond the local area of the smile, beyond the face. And just track that positive feeling as it radiates throughout your body. And when it fades, ring that bell again by just putting another gentle smile on your face. Another way you can intentionally feel good is by generating thoughts. So turn your attention toward a thought, image, or something that inspires you. And once you turn your attention to the thought, then turn your attention back to the body and track the positive emotional response until it fades. And then you turn your attention back to the thought, or generate a new thought that triggers a feel-good tone. And then as it fades, bring your attention back to that thought or another thought. And now for a few moments, use whichever approach works for you, whether it's automatically generating positive emotions, putting a smile on your face, or bringing to mind a positive thought, image, or something that inspires you. And as you focus on the feeling of positive emotions, notice the location in the body. Notice how intense or subtle it is, the quality it is, and just allow it to spread. and then doing whatever you need to do to renew it. And if you've got momentum, feeling a lot of positivity, and it feels natural to do so, allow it to spread throughout the body, maybe even beyond the body, into this room, toward others in the room, out into the world, to people you know, to people you don't know, to people that are on Zoom with us. Optimize gladness and happiness for yourself and others now as you practice feel good in several minutes of silence. As you gently bring your attention back to this time and place, silently say, "Thank you, divine gladness," for the wisdom to remember, to feel good now, to feel glad now, to not delay gladness. Thank you, divine gladness. Thank you, thank you, thank you that it is so and so it is. Amen.
As I rise in the morning, you are there. In the glow of a sunset, you are there. In the chill winter wind, or the soft summer air, you are there. You are there. In the smile of a loved one, you are there. In the face of a stranger, you are there. In the noise of the crowd, in the silence of prayer, you are there. You are there. I feel your presence every moment, every day. You walk beside me as I travel on my way. And though I stumble or tumble and fall, you are there to guide me through it all. You are there to guide me through it all. In the laugh of a child, you are there. In the tears of the broken, you are there. When a long-hardened heart opens up and learns to care, you are there. You are there. In a newborn's first breath, you are there. At the moment of death, you are there. All the years in between, in the love we've come to share, you are there. You are there. In the moments when I'm feeling most alone, when the cold and darkness chill me to the bone, you come bearing warmth and comfort and light, and hold my heart through the desert of the night. You hold my heart through the desert of the night. In the smile of a loved one, you are there. In the face of a stranger, you are there. In the noise of the crowd, in the silence of prayer, you are there. 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 So this is the time in the service when we have an opportunity to experience the divine paradox that it is in giving that we receive. So please join me in our love offering blessing. In a universe overflowing with unlimited abundance, all the needs of Unity Santa Fe and those we serve are bountifully met from every direction, known and unknown, expected and unexpected. Our abundant good comes to us now. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all I am, all I have, all I joyously give, and all I joyously receive. Feel that joy, feel that gratitude, feel that generosity. Allow it to permeate every cell and atom of your body, your heart, your soul, your mind. Allow it to radiate beyond the body, creating a field of energy, of joy, gratitude, and generosity that attracts more and more to be grateful for, joyful about, and generous with. Amen. So I invite you to join me for a socially distanced, in-person love offering candle lighting ceremony. So we'll begin from the back row if you'd like to participate, and come to the altar with your gift as Source of Unity Santa Fe. And feel the joy of giving as you light a candle to remember you are the light of the world. Place it in a bed of salt to remember you're the salt of the earth, and place your gift in a basket on the altar. And if you're attending on Zoom, just imagine yourself in the sanctuary. Feel your body taking part in this ceremony. And we're going to begin in the back row. 'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place of strife, it will be the valley of love and light. And true simplicity is gained. Now unto then we will not be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. Make me an instrument, Lord, of thy peace, as I give love I receive. Make me an instrument, humble and free, as I awaken the living Christ in me. Ooh, as I awaken the living Christ in me. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This big light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Trusting in the Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Trusting in the Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Trusting in the Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. As long as I have breath, I will praise you, Lord. As long as I have life, let my soul rejoice. In times of sore distress, in times of loneliness, as long as I have breath, I will praise you, Lord. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me, and this is the moment now. With every step I take, this is my joyous smile. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
And our prayer for protection, unity Santa Fe style. The light of God I am surrounds me. The love of God I am impels me. The power of God I am protects me. The presence of God I am watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well.